We're going to have two sessions, on one on literature search, how to find um, the research material, previous work, and so on. And then we will next we will see how to manage those what we found effectively. We'll start with literature search. I'm pretty sure that all of you are aware what literature search is. Usually I ask the questions why we stand on, why we do the literature search. So just there are many answers that I get usually, but the one I really like is what you see usually in Google Scholar, what you see in Google Scholar, which states that to stand on the shoulders of giants. Basically, to base your work on what others have done, and move forward. So that's basically the entire concept of research, that based on what others have done to advance it further. So while it is search, so that you know what has been going on, what is possible, and to see what you can do. The other question is, when and why would you do literature search? Professor Majid also mentioned this. So usually when I ask this question, normally what I get is that at the beginning of research, that before you do, just to look at what has been done, what is possible, and so on, to gain knowledge, gather knowledge, you will do literature search. But anybody with experience in doing research, especially PhDs or long-term research, actually knows that when not only at the beginning, but you will have to do literature search while conducting research, because things can go wrong, or you find new things, so you need to go and search for more. You have different outcomes, results, just to go and find why these things are, and just to ensure that what you are doing has not been done other places while you're doing it. So there are many reasons that you conduct literature search while you're conducting research. And the third one is that you will do when you're publishing your research, because once again, you have to, first of all, identify, go and see whether this has not been done previously. Now, by the time you are conducting the research, somebody else has not published it. But that's the usual thing. But most of the time what happens is you have to justify your research and so on, and then most of the time your introduction and the motivation and all that, we see a lot of researchers go and try to find these things at the end of the research, because now you have to justify what you have done, why you have done it, and so on. So ideally, even though you just check whether these things are done and this is justifiable, you need to when you're writing, especially, you need to reference the materials, cite the material, so you go and try to search for things to put in your theses, your papers, and so on. So that's that. So we can see that we need to do this at many times, and throughout your research. So if once you start your academic or research career, you will have to keep doing these things and refer back to a lot of things that you have been looking at in the past. Now, so the idea is that that you don't reinvent the wheel, basically, as I mentioned. So it's very important to spend time on literature search. It could be international, it could be local, depending on the subject area. And now in my area, computer engineering, and related areas, it's almost everything, because it's a nascent, it's a new area. Most of the things are online. So you can go and find most of the material online, but in other areas, uh, some things are online, but most of the local sources. Yeah. So we will be focusing on looking at the international sources or finding the literature which are available online. Now, why we need to focus on this one is basically because what we can consider as, like, the world's biggest haystack, the internet, where there are millions, billions and billions of information is added every single day, and the task is to find the needle or the needles. Now, how to find the needle or the needles? Even though there are many tools to do, the most favorite or the most used is Google, which has kind of become a verb in itself. So why do people Google? You can just use it as a verb as well, because it's quite fast. It even tells you how fast, and brings up large number of results. As you can see, it will tell you how long it took and about the number of results that it has found. So I will advise you to actually keep when you go through different methods to search, keep your eye on this number of results that it pops up as well, what it says here, because it has quite significance on how to conduct our search and how to make it do it effectively. And then it has it's quite good in finding the best results in its first page. So this was quite different previous, before Google. We used to have search engines like Alta Vista, Yahoo, and so on, which used to be a directory service. So Google quite changed it with their algorithm to find information, which is called a page rank. I'm not going to go into the details, but it just basically identify which page has a better better relevance to what we are searching. So they have main algorithms and some features that are well known, and also there are many other details, machine learning techniques, which try to find, and even your own searches, your own preferences as well. So I assume that you know that Google actually saves what you are searching, which you can disable. If you want to know, we can discuss that later. But Google actually keep track of what you search and what you are interested in providing you with the results when you search, which makes it even more personalized than just a random search or what you call uninformed search that it will do. So it's quite good in doing that, but we are not going to focus on Google search, even though most of the things that we would look at would be applicable to just Google search as well. For literature search, we are going to specifically focus on Google Scholar. And as I assume every one of you are aware of Google Scholar, which allows you to search for scholarly articles, books, journals, conference papers, etc. And then allow you to do it with specific features or options that are not in basic Google. You can search by a title, author, publication years, citations, related articles, and so on. Now, when you're searching in Google Scholar, you need to be aware of how these results are given to you, because it's knowing that will help you to actually find exactly what you are looking for, rather than just a blind search and just getting everything in the first few pages and so on. Now when you look at Google Scholar search, it's based on number of criteria. Now, if you look at this criteria, you will see that it is the same importance that you would normally give a research paper. So basically, how often it has been cited in other scholarly literature. So if a paper is cited more in a more, it is definitely more relevant or more important than something that is not cited that much. Whether the full text of the document is available, because even if you can find a scholarly article with which is quite relevant, but if you can't get the full text of that document, then definitely it's of less value to us. Where it was published, if it's in a high impact journal, definitely it has more value than some obscure conference and so on. Who it was written by, if the author has a higher H index, it's a highly cited author, then it is much more important than somebody who's very new to the area. And how recent it has been cited in other scholarly literature. That there could be an article which has been cited many a times, but probably it has not been cited in the last few years, to means that it is not relevant or important anymore. Or so these factors, I mean, if you look at these factors, of course, this is how we would identify a good source of information as well. So this is basically the main criteria in Google Scholar as well. Now, when you go to Google Scholar, you can go to at the bottom. You can see the about and the settings of Google Scholar, and if you go there, you can actually get almost all the information I'll be talking about here. It will tell you how these things are done, and how the search is done, and all these metrics as well. So all this information is available, so you can also go and look at those things later, if and when necessary. There's help available as well, so which will tell you about most of the things that I will be talking about. Where you can go and refresh these things, or even learn more about these things in these places. So with that introduction to Google Scholar, let's go to look at how to search in Google Scholar effectively. So specifically, when we do say literature search, we will be specifically looking at how to do this in Google Scholar. Now, before I move on, how I'm gonna conduct this one is that I'm gonna go quite slowly. As I mentioned at the beginning, I have done this in many ways. So as I said, doing it interactively, getting the participants to do their search and use these things at the time actually give the best results. Doing it online, we have tried many different ways. I have tried many different ways. So this is also, as I also keep saying in my online teaching, learning, and blended learning workshops, these are like we are experimenting. Even though we also go and teach about those things, we keep experimenting on different or most effective way to do these type of workshops, webinars, or courses online. So what I'm going to do today is to go very slowly, giving you time to do these simple tricks or search methods on your own. So what I would suggest is that you think about a research topic that you are working on, a very specific area, not a broad area, very specific topic that you are working on or looking at, so that you can quickly try these things, so to look at the different results you get, so that you will understand these features, options much better. Just to go by uh, a proverb that we actually, I used to hear this a lot at the Staff Development Center SDC program. I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, and I do, I understand. So let's try to do this as we go. But since, since I cannot track what everybody's doing, I will try to go at a certain level. I would appreciate if you could let me know, I mean, in the feedback, so how well it went, because as I said, we are always learning how best to do these things. So I would appreciate your feedback on that, so that we can I can improve this with your feedback to do it better as we in the future. Okay, so going on to Google Basics. Very simple ones. First, we won't do any searches for this one because these things are very, very basic, and we are not going to test those out. Case doesn't matter. So uppercase, lowercase, Google won't mind. It will just search as it is. It will fix spelling errors automatically. So if we have seen, if you type it wrong, it will correct automatically. And first important factor, that word order and phrases. I assume most of you, or almost every one of you, is aware of these phrases that you can put double quotes, which will mean it's a phrase. We will see it next once again. So word order matters. So depending on which order that you have, especially the longer the number of words that you have, there will be more importance or higher number of points to the first word compared to the last word. So change in the word order will give you different results. You can try that out. You can try that out as we go along. Try to change the order of the words. So what it says is that, if you are looking at a specific thing, you need to identify what is the most important thing in this one, and the next one, and the next one, which will, so it's not like a phrase, it's not like a sentence where you put and it will give you results, because the results would focus on the words that are appearing at the beginning rather than so all the results would be there, but it will be given to you in the order that is given more importance to the first words instead of the last words there. So you can actually change this around and see what type of results you get to find the exact results you want, right? So we'll start with the phrases. Now when you put quotes, it will search for that exact phrase as in the order that is given, right? Which means that there will be no other word between those keywords. So that if you say, so example, drought resistant, which is in quotes, it will look for drought resistance together, as we will see later. So if you look at drought resistant, so if you have this without quotes, it will be like drought resistant rice Sri Lanka. you will see results that are given for, let's say, for example, um, uh, drought tolerance, which because Google will search for synonyms and give based on other criteria, use synonyms and give you results which are uh, uh, closer to the meaning. But if you say drought resistant, it has to contain that phrase exactly. And if you want this on Sri Lanka specifically, because if you just search for drought resistant rice, and even Sri Lanka is there, you will sometimes see that results for other countries prop up, like places like, India, much more than for Sri Lanka. But when you say Sri Lanka, you're saying, I want this phrase to be there in my search. So it will give you much better results if you use quotes or the phrases. And also now, when you're using, when you have phrases, one of the problems is, like, so for example, let's say something like Alexander Graham Bell. If you're searching for Alexander Graham Bell, you can search for Alexander Graham Bell and it will give you some results. So if you look at, say, for example, Alexander Graham Bell, if you just search without any quotes, it will show you, you can see 206,000 results with, there'll be Alexander Graham Bell, and so on. But if you say Alexander Bell, the number of searches, results are different. As you can see, instead of 206,000, it has 2.2 million results. And then there's different results there compared to what we have. And if you want to search for Alexander Graham Bell, but you don't know whether it will be written as Alexander Bell or Alexander G. Bell or Alexander Graham Bell, what we can do is what we call a wildcard, which is the star or asterisk that we have. So use here Alexander anything. Anything could mean a letter, a word, or nothing at all. So you will see when you put that one, it's actually reduce the number of results, because Alexander Graham Bell could just have Alexander or Graham or Bell as well. So in here, you only have 47,000 results. It could connect to Alexander Graham Bell as well as, L. Bell, A.G. Bell, and so on. So, so as you can see, by just doing like putting quotes, will restrict the results just for that phrase. Now, if I remove this wildcard, I will. I've been using Google search for a lot. So it will give you different type of results. Okay, so so you need to see how much, what type of results you get to see what are you really getting what you want and how you can change that and so on. So the next thing is you can especially do this for title search. So for example, something like a wild white boy, a novel written by R.L. Spittle. And then if you just search for wild white boy, it will give you many different results which are not quite relevant or not what exactly you are looking for. But if you want just the entire title, wild white boy, and if it's in quotes, you will get exactly the results you want, most probably. Right? So you can try this out to see. Now you can see here also 503,000 compared to 12 results when you're having it in quotes, right? Depending on what you want, you can put different things in quotes to try those out. Right? Okay. So the keyword search, as I said, you have to decide on the main concept, um, and then have use from the most significant to least significant of those keywords in your search, which will give you the exact results you are looking for. You need to avoid words that are vague or have multiple meanings, because you will see when you search, right? So there's no way to say like what are the vague words or what are the ambiguous words that you will have. But when you search, you will see that the results you are getting actually are relevant to a different meaning of the word, so that you can actually go and put a different word there for that whatever vague word, so that it will actually improve the result. So it's always a trial and error. So I would never know what to tell you if you ask me a question how to search for this. It's always trial and error. You need to do different things, change things, and see what results you are getting, and whether it's relevant to you, whether you're getting too much and if you can't figure out, you can't get the exact thing you want, or that you don't get any results at all. Which also happens, right? So it's always a trial and error. So you need to do these things. So you need to think about alternative spellings. You have the British versus US spelling and other type of spelling as well. You can have abbreviations. For example, my area there's IoT, which also says as Internet of Things. Cisco says it Internet of Everything, and so on. So so that you can have different type of different terms or acronyms for the same thing. So you need to ensure that you capture all these, and the broader and narrower meaning of the original keyword. So the key idea is that you're going to lose a lot of useful information if you don't search for alternative terms of the keywords, right? So you need to keep trying different things. We will try to summarize what this means exactly. Okay. Now, when you search, another important thing to remember is that in any search, we have what we call stop words, which are common words such as the, and, to, in, where, how, and so on. And also single digits and single letters and so on, which doesn't add meaning to the search. So because these terms, these words appear in so many pages, it doesn't help find the relevant results. Okay? So we need to understand, if you put all these things, it doesn't add anything to the research, so that it will not be considered. But there's a word of caution, because it's not exactly completely ignored, because in Google search, they give a value to the proximity of the terms. So for example, if you search for a term like rice field and rice in the field, now you can see the two results here. Now, if you search for rice field, even though it's not in quotes, since the rice field is given as two words close to each other, the results you get at the top would have that very close to that one. Basically like the same term. Sometimes it might not. So that's when you need to put the quotes and say, I only want rice field as a phrase. But most of the time, you will see this same type of phrase, even without quotes coming to the top. If it's not, you'll have to put phrases to say, no, I want everything to be just rice field. But here you see that, the results at the top has this two terms together. But if you put something like rice in the field, now these two words are three words apart. And the results, you will see that it's not rice in the field that you get, because in the are called stop words. They're ignored. But the proximity of these two words is considered. So even though rice in the field contains rice field and in the is forgotten, ignored, the proximity is maintained. So rice straw open field is the first results you get, because it's looking at how many times it is cited, where it is print, where it is published, and all the other options that are there. And the other one, rice reflectance at field. Right? So the proximity of, like, so if you use these stop words, that will be but the proximity will be maintained. So you have to be very careful. So you need to understand these things so that you can, if you're not getting the right result, you need to understand this one. So if you want exactly rice in the field, then you'll have to put quotes and say that I want the exact term. So are there any questions, or you want to try out these things? I will look up as I said, you can use the Padlet to post any question. Okay, if you have any questions, you can also raise your hands as well. Or you can try this out and let me know. Also about the words that you put in Google search, it's usually all the words are combined with that I want this and that, so that all the words you put are automatically connected with a key, the keyword and. So you can also put and, a capital and in between to say I want this and this together. Usually shouldn't make a difference. Sometimes it does. So you can try both as well. Just giving the two words and search and put a and at the middle and see how what you get. Similar to and, you can also give an option. So here you actually say that you want all the words to be there, which is the default. You also have alternative keyword where you can actually put O in between, or a vertical bar. Say I want articles with this or that. So like, you want to search for the cotia, you can search for cotia or leopard, so that it will give you the results containing both. So that that is possible. And it is also possible for you to combine these two, where you have multiple alternate terms and another multiple alternate terms. Right? So a combination of alternatives and another combination of alternatives, of one of those and one of this. Right? You can put round brackets around the keywords for O. So example, let's say, for example, you want to discuss the therapy for tuberculosis. So it could be therapy or therapies or medicine or medicines or treatment or treating, which are all in round brackets, and tuberculosis or TB. So which will combine the two together. So one of these, and so one of the words from the first group and one of the words from the second group. So you can combine like that one. So if you're not sure what word really want, like, therapy or treatment or medicine, so you can capture everything. Because like if you use just one word, as I said, if you use one word, it will have more significance in the results. So it will automatically consider synonyms, but they will be at a lower significance compared to the relevance to your word. Those results could come up because of other citations and all that, but given for relevance for that particular keyword, the given keyword have more marks than its synonyms. So if you give all the words and say, I don't care what of this word is there, then you will actually get the correct importance to any of those which are available. So you can try, but this is one of the things that I normally don't try often, because rather than putting all this together, it's easier to check for different combinations and find the results and see what I get. So normally I don't use that, but this is also a possibility that you can do. But I don't most use this because it's quite difficult to come up with this, all the possibilities to find. It's better to just keep doing trial and error with different combinations to find what exactly you are looking for. Another important factor is that earlier we were looking at what we want to add. Sometimes we want to have results which exclude certain results. For example, let's say something like, let's say you are looking for something, you are searching for something, and the results you get is not relevant to what you want. For example, if you search for Aboriginals, you will mostly get for Canadian and Australian Aboriginals, and you want to actually identify or look for Aboriginals outside of Canada and Australia. So you can give us Aboriginals minus Canada minus Australia to say, please exclude these results. Now, if you do so, you'll see that the results that you get, it talks about Taiwanese Aboriginals, and then Aboriginals in India, in West Bengal, and so on. So you're actually getting, and once again, when you look at this, you'll see that the number of results. When you're looking for Aboriginals, you are getting 70,000 results, whereas if you exclude Canada and Australia, you get a lower number of results. Once again, when you're searching for any of these keywords that you are looking for, and you are getting, most of the time you get results that are not relevant to exact one you are looking for, because the most of the results in that area are for a specific part or specific subject that is not relevant to what your search is. You can actually exclude that, saying, okay, I don't want anything to do with this aspect of this particular topic, which you can easily remove a large section of the results which is dominating the search that you are doing. And then going on to do more into scholar search, there are many filters that you can use. I assume most of you are quite familiar with the dates or the years that you can actually look for results for particular year or a range of years. You can actually give this in the search bar, but it's much easier to do it in search, where in the left hand side, where you can actually give custom range to say I want results in between 2000, published in between 2012 and 2013, right? So you can, or you can just do it like, since 2020, since 2017, or any particular range that you want, right? You can also sort your results by the date. So as I said, how Google Scholar sort your results is by the relevance, how relevant it is based on the criteria that we looked at earlier. But if you want the latest results that is there, you can actually sort it by the date, so that it'll give you the latest results first. So this is quite useful, especially when you are conducting results and in the middle of your results and so on, just to keep looking, what has happened recently. Has there been anything new? Of course, there's other ways to do that as well, but something that you can search. And also, like, when you search, as I said, the most cited one will come to the top for a given topic, right? So you can actually give the same thing and cite or sort by the date to look at what has happened recently, or what has been published recently in this particular topic, so that you can know what type of things are happening in that area. You can also filter by author. Now, this is especially important when you work with foreign authors, because their names could be things that could come to the title or in the text, like the things like green and all these words that could occur. So as you can see, if you talk about photosynthesis green, it's of course definitely there's green is there. But if you want a paper about photosynthesis where the author is green, you can specifically say I want the author to be green, or the author's name is green, so that you will get only the results where the author is green, rather than that something that is related to the topic. This is also true for, especially for other languages, like especially Chinese authors. They have very small names most of the time that get slipped through if you are looking for a specific author, so that you can put it in the author field and look for those results. So depending on so that if you know the author, that you can actually give the specific author and look for it. Now, one of the important things, another important thing is that when you're searching for something, for example, I was looking at this, so like drought resistant rice in Sri Lanka. Now, if you search for this one, you can see that, on the left hand side, this drought rice, and then Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is actually in the text itself. So this is talking about the drought rice, the issues of the rice cultivation with respect to drought conditions, but not specifically relevant to Sri Lanka. This is Sri Lanka is mentioned, but not exactly about Sri Lankan conditions. So if I want to find things about Sri Lankan context, you will assume that you can assume that Sri Lanka would be most probably in the title itself. So that you're talking about the drought conditions or drought tolerance, resistance, or so on. and about rice cultivation and Sri Lanka, so that all those are in the title, so that it is very specific to this topic. So you can specifically say, I want all this in the title with the option or the keyword saying all in title colon, and you give these words. So it will actually find very specific. So you can see the number of results, like it's 34,800 results when you say Sri Lanka rice drought. I'm saying Sri Lanka is the most important, but still the highest ranked one is where Sri Lanka is in just in the text, but drought and rice on the title itself. So I'm saying, no, I want Sri Lanka rice drought to be in title. And I only get 6 results. So those 6 results are specifically relevant to Sri Lanka rice in drought conditions or drought tolerance and so on. Yeah. So you can decide on, and once again, it's like, look at the number of results you get. As I said, it's once again trial and error. And also, if you one other very helpful one is, if as I said, if there's a full text available, it's usually get a higher preference, but not all, because there are many other conditions. You don't always get that. But if you really want only the PDFs of these, you can actually give file type colon PDF, just to say, I don't really want anything that doesn't have a PDF. I want the results which has this topic, these keywords, and the file type is PDF. So I want only that, nothing else. So by giving that, you will only get the results which has PDFs available in the results where you can download those things. So which is much more important than getting all the results which you cannot actually get access to. Now, once again, as I keep saying, you can always see these numbers that you get. So it's a trial and error thing. Yeah, you can do many things. So it's very important that you know the tools, know the options where you can change your search parameters. Now, what exactly we are trying to do is basically 2 things. One is the zoom, so that you can see that we are changing the number of results that we get. Basically, it's the zoom level, right? So that you zoom in. So when you put phrases, when you put quotes in words, you actually reduce in the number of results. And when you give very generic terms or a lot of words, when you give without quotes many words, you are actually increasing the range. So if you want to narrow down to a specific area, you will have to put things like put the phrases to say, I want these exact phrases. Or you can exclude certain keywords to say, I want in this area, I don't want anything to do with this part, only this, so that you are actually in that one, what you are exactly doing, it not zooming in. So that's the other thing that you will do with a binocular or a telescope, that you actually span across. So one is that you zoom. The other one is that so what you do is, like, you just think about how you would use a binocular. What you do is, if you want to look at certain things in detail, first of all, you zoom out, you find the exact area that you want to look at, and then you will zoom in. So if it's not what you have, you will zoom out again and move a span across, find the other area, and then zoom in. So this is exactly what you try to do in Google Scholar as well. Most of the time we don't know exactly what you want, or you won't actually look at multiple areas in this thing. So you will give so by changing the word order, you can actually span across, like, you can change the direction of your search, because the first words will have more significance. So you're actually moving or spanning your binocular, right? And there, by putting brackets and so on, you can zoom in and then zoom out again. And you can put all in title to zoom in a lot more to exactly where it is. Right? and by excluding certain words, you actually span into a different area of the forest. So this, as I said, this is all a trial and error. By sometimes when you put all phrases, you put the many phrases, you'll see that you don't have any result at all. So that you have zoomed in too much that you don't have anything. Then you have to zoom out to get little by little, right? So it's always a trial and error. So it's very important not only to zoom in and out, but to also span across by doing different things. So once you know the tools to do these things, you can try this out. So that you will ensure that you don't miss anything related to the topic that you're working on or you are interested in. Okay. So any questions so far?
Yeah, Dr. Bandaranaike, there's a question on the chat box. If we write within quotes, rice in the middle, what will it still not consider the stop words? That is
no. So if you put it in a phrase, it'll not consider as a stop word. So it's like that exact phrase will be searched.
Can we mention a little about image searches as well, Dr. Bandaranaike? I don't know whether it is out of scope. And maybe suppose I found a flower and I have an image of the flower. I'm just wondering whether there's anything published already on this flower. So can I do an image search?
This is a flower that's just I just downloaded, and then I opened it in my browser. I don't know what this flower is. And then I can search the Google for this. So if I right click on this one, I can actually search for that image. Usually you might be able to find this one. So
right, similar images come up.
Yeah, so I assume that is correct. So you can do these things as well. It doesn't always work, sometimes you don't get any results as also. Sometimes you get from like different forums and all that. So this is, I think, assume this is quite common one, so it's much easier. So if it depends on number of it depends on the amount of data that is there. So as you can see, there are so many of those images there, so that Google can actually do a image comparison and identify that. It all depends on how common that is, whether there are other images available of that one which are tagged or identified. Based on that, you will get different results.
Thanks a lot.
Any other questions?
Don't see any questions on the chat box. You might check the Padlet.
Padlet also, I have the same question. It's fine. Okay, so if you have any questions, just you can post those as well. Also, any other comment like go faster, go slower, and all that, you can actually do that in the Zoom as well. So you can say that too. Okay, let me start from where I stopped. So once again, when we look at this search, as I said, it's kind of like a zooming effect. I mean, it's like a binocular effect. You're trying to kind of span across, identify your keywords, the importance of the keywords, and then zoom in exactly to find the exact information or the papers you want. Now we have done this. I mean, for example, in our computer engineering undergraduate course, we have actually even introduced like a review paper writing, article writing in the first part of the undergraduate final year research, specifically for this reason. Even though they should be quite what do you call should be better than probably other students with the computer engineering and the background. It's not so, because this is nothing to do with the computer literacy or information. It's just to understand what is needs to be done. So why we have done this, why I introduced this literature review, or like review article or survey article, is to ensure that they do this literature search properly at the beginning of their research, so that they are not stumped or not like have not identified all the resources by the time they do research and publish, or try to publish or present their results. Even with that, we still find that that they sometimes fail to see or identify results that are relevant to that one. I mean, sometimes I have said, even recent evaluations, I could just by a quick search, I could find something contradictory to what they are claiming, and so on, very quickly. So it's very important. As I said, it's, I mean, the problem is not that whether you're good in search or not, but it's like, it will affect the research that you are doing, because if you don't know what has been done, if you don't know what is available, what is possible, it's going to affect your research work negatively. So you need to ensure that you use all the resources possible, all the tools possible to cast your net wide and far, so that you know exactly what's going on before you embark on your research work, so that to ensure that you are doing something useful as well as not being done, and so on. Now, in addition to those things, there are other ways to find the information that you are looking for that might be of use, is to look at the other aspects that are in Google Scholar. So, for example, I in my PhD thesis was in area called mesh networks, and then so this is like this wireless mesh network survey by Professor Akil. This is like one of the, it's a seminal paper, the survey paper that almost everybody cites. So if I want to know what's exactly going on this area now, one of the easiest way for me to do, just rather than just searching blindly about mesh networking and try to find what it is, I'll just search for this one, go to the cited by to see who has cited these, and which will give me the results, and then I sort it by the date, so that I will know exactly, okay, this paper, these are the papers that recently worked on mesh networks and published very recently. So we can keep track of what is going on, right? Or what has happened, what is happening now in that particular area, or what that generic area, right? So that is another way to look at results. Or even when you get certain results, you can actually look at by who has cited it. So if you get a very generic result, right, if you get a generic a general paper that is of a wider a broader outlook, you can look at who has cited it to find articles which are more focused or narrow, with a narrow focus, right? So as I said, there are many ways to find this information, so you need to know how to do that. The other way is to just look at related articles. So if you look at for something, if you click on related articles, it will actually give you many other articles related to that particular one based on different criteria. So you can just look at related articles to see. So if you have, there's a particular article that you are interested in and which matches your interest, you can look at the related articles to see what is there, what are the other papers that are relevant to that area, so that you will find something that you have not searched for, but that is more relevant to what you're looking for. Right? So that is one possibility. The complete other flip side of the cited by is if you get a very specific paper, but you want a broader one, best way to do is to go on to the reference sections and see what they have referred to. in that one, so that you can actually get a broader idea. Okay, now as when you are doing, like, especially when you are conducting research and then you're going on for a long time, you can't really keep track of like keep searching again and again for the same thing. For example, let's say I do this one, I want to know what's exactly any paper that comes out on mesh network, I want to know, right? So I have to keep doing this. It's how often to do, when to do, it's a you might forget to do it. So for all that, as you can see, there's a option for you to create an alert. If you have a particular search that is of interest and something you're looking for, you can actually create an alert, an email alert, so that, you know, then say, for example, you are looking at ensuring academic integrity of online examinations. I have searched, and then, you know, there are the articles there. I've looked at those things. I've downloaded whatever I want. I have all that, but I want to know, and because it's like it's very new and a topic of interest at the moment, there could be a lot of papers coming out. So I just want to create an alert, so I can click on the click alert, create alert option icon, and then which will allow me to, you know, give my email address there. Actually, it will go automatically get from my Google profile. And it will, if you click on create alert, it will actually create an alert which will send emails to your inbox, like this one, something I got really recently, for all the, like, the topics that that particular specific search that you have created the alert for. So anything new that matches that search, that you will get I recommend these email alerts from Google, so that you can, so you don't have to, you know, keep going back and search, keep searching, but it will send you, and then you will automatically get updated about the results. Another thing about the full text that has been available, most of the time, sometimes, you know, when you click, even though if it says, when you say PDF source, sometimes you don't get the PDF source when you click. Sometimes even if it says PDF here, when you go, you will see that you will have to actually purchase it, or you need to have a subscription. But you can check out this all. Like, sometimes Google is not that smart. It won't, it like sometimes here when source says PDF, but it is not really freely available. But if you look at all versions that are there, you will see, for example, like when I click here, the one that is here usually will be from the original journal, so that which you would not have a subscription or access to. But when you look at all the versions, you will see sometimes. So for example, yesterday I downloaded a paper that first one went to IEEE Explore, which is we didn't have access. And but at the end, in the last one, it was actually was available from the author's the university website, which I could download. So if the PDF is not available on the link at the top, you can just look at the all versions and try to see whether one of other options will provide you with the PDF. Okay. And if even then it's not available, there are other possible ways, like you can go to things, other places like ResearchGate, and usually you can request from the author, where they will not share publicly, but will send you the paper in your email. Oh, actually, this is quite controversial, actually, so I'm just mentioning it though, because I'm not very fond of this publishing, what other people call a publishing mafia, basically, that we do the research, but companies get money for that. So there are other sources such as Sci-Hub. This is considered illegal or not so legal compared compared to what you asked for, but others also championed by research community. So most of the papers are available for free. I'm not recommending it also, but I'm just giving out the information. So whether you want to use it or not, it's a matter up to you. But those type of resources are available as well. Or else, of course, we can be very legal and ethical and get um, subscription, which I think as a university we should do, so that we can get access to most of these articles in the right way. So like, most of the time, I feel like most of you who have been um, uh, in foreign countries, in foreign universities, you would have known that when you search for, especially in Google Scholar, you will get these links through your university, which will link to the subscribed version of that one, so that those things are available. So that which is something that we should also try to do. There's a bit more as well. Any question from those? Okay, so there's a question says, does Google Scholar include all the research papers in internet? I mean, even papers we can find on other sources like Science Direct or PubMed. Okay, so I will mention, that's a very good question. I will come to that in a little bit about whether everything is there. We don't know, even Google don't know. But if you look at, I will show you in a few more slides. Google Scholar is actually at the top of how many papers it has indexed. But now if you look at, so indexing is, so this is so indexing is something that it's done automatically. There are what do you call crawlers, so scripts that in Google that will actually go around indexing this thing. So it is done automatically. So so there are what you call publicly available ones. So in the normal Google search, it's most of the time it's publicly available as well, so that they will search, do this crawl all the time and add new things as you go. But in research articles, while some things are public, other things are private, like or subscription based. So you cannot go and search on those articles or updates on those articles regularly. So what happens is in Google Scholar, if there's a new article, usually it appears very quickly. But if there's a update, so for example, let's say anybody who's worried about this is H-index and this your citations, number of citations, you will see those things actually update not that frequently in Google Scholar. Why? Because it's like, if it's basically a subscription based one, or a particular journal, they only go and crawl through that thing to update, not the new ones, but the older ones to update any value. That happens every 6 to 9 months to 1 year. So so depending on different journals, so you will see your citation numbers go up once in a while, but for different journals at different times. And numbers you will get from ResearchGate might be different from what you get from Google Scholar, because they do this indexing at different times, because even the companies don't allow the Google bots to come and keep going through their repository to update things every other day. So the simple answer to the question, does Google Scholar include all the research paper in the internet? I absolutely don't think so. It's not possible at all. But it contains the most number of articles that is there compared to other sources. Whether the other sources will have things that are not in Google, I don't think anybody knows the answer, but you should be able to look for your things. So that's why, it's important, especially like, so it's very important, like say something like PubMed, it's very specific for areas of what you call medical field and so on. So might be useful to just search in PubMed to see whether you can find results that are not available in Google. As I said, we don't never know the answer. I think that it should be there should be things that are not identified or found by Google that are available probably in PubMed as well. So it's always better to actually look in multiple sources. Why we are interested in Google Scholar is that it's actually multidisciplinary. It covers almost everything. It has the highest number of indexed papers in the internet. Any other questions? Okay. Rest of the things I will actually go a bit faster because we are this is just for your information that these things are also available. So I'm not going to dwell on this as I did for the Google search, Google Scholar search part. There's another question actually, how can we avoid duplicates, like the same article published in different platforms? I'm not really sure about this question. What is exactly meant by this? How can we avoid duplicates, like the same article published in different platforms? Can you give an example or something? I'm not really sure. I mean, it could mean two different things. So can you give an example of what you mean by that question? Okay, so Iqbal, if you can give an example or clarify that question, it will be easy. I'll come back to that one later. So there's more, as I said, things like Google Books. Now you can specifically look for books, and there's and you can actually read a lot of books in Google Scholar, and these are done like, for example, multiple intelligence in the classroom. It's one of my favorite books about this teaching and all that, and you can do this and you can actually search for specific phrases in books as well, because that Google actually not only scan the text, but they do the optical character recognition of that one. So it's basically you can actually search for text in books. So when I wanted to search for something what called say linguistic intelligence, or this this capacity to use words effectively and so on, so that I can search that part, right? So you can do this in books.google.com, right? There were legal issues at the beginning, but now it's not so. So for example, when I search for that one, I actually get exactly where it is in the book. So it's actually in the multiple intelligence in the classroom. You can say the capacity to use words effectively, whether orally or in writing. So I can actually search for linguistic intelligence, and it will give it in the book, and specifically where it is in the book itself. Now, these books are available in Google by the Scholar Partner Program and the Library Project. So some may have the full book, some may have limited preview, a snippet, or no preview at all. But more and more books are being added to Google Books. So it's actually a quite good resource in that sense as well. You can search it in different ways. ISBN and so on.
Ini sate pinna. Oke, pinna nu kuali.
Enak kira kata.
Okay, it happens to most of us. It's one of the problems of online meetings. We have to excuse everybody. We have all had those things, so no worries at all. Now, all these things that we discuss, actually, these are all available. So the main idea is that you need to be aware of that. These are possible. These like that you should. There are these tools, options available for literature search, which you can go to, like you can search for these things. For example, you can go to Google Guide, which will give you all the things that you can do. There are many other sites like this, so which will give you the techniques, search techniques, tools, and so on to do your search better, right? So once you know that it is possible, you can actually go and refer to these things, these sites, how to do Google better, so that you can identify these different options as to how to do things, and so on. A question that was asked earlier, alternative Google Scholar. Of course, there are many. I'm not going to go into the details of those things. But if you look at those, this is from this specific Wikipedia page. You can actually go and look for those. So list of academic databases and search engines. List of academic databases and search engines. So when you go, there's this particular table there which gives you. So I have sorted this from science. You can see that there, like, you can sort from name, discipline, access, cost, and so on. So Google Scholar is at the top with the size of the database. And you can also look from like the discipline. So there are like if you specifically want to search in either in medicine or biology, or agriculture or arts or different areas, liberal arts and so on. So you can actually look at certain databases which specifically cater for that area, right? So so earlier there are things like Web of Science, earlier known as Web of Knowledge, used to be one of the sources that people used most, and Scopus, which has now actually come to mostly to Google Scholar, because most of the things that you can find here are in Google Scholar as well. PubMed and PubMed Central, I think, are a bit different, so that you can actually find all this medical literature as well as biomedical and life science literature in those places. There are other sources like Crossref, as well as something that we are going to look at next, which is Mendeley. One of the reasons that we will see that most people prefer Mendeley for reference management is, one of the things is that it actually has this Mendeley search as well, which actually what is called a crowdsourced search engine. So that its search engine is actually based on what the users are adding to their libraries, not by crawling everywhere. It just look at all the references that are added, and then based on that they develop this crowdsourced search based on that. Okay, so that comes to the end of literature search. Actually, if you're typing in, you'll have to keep changing. You have to find the references. We see this one in most of the time, not just in the reference style. Sometimes you can probably change it much easier, but you see the numbers or the reference citations in the text does not match the bibliography at the end. So all these things are very cumbersome to manage. So you submit to one journal or a conference and it get rejected, and you submit to another place which has an entirely different citation style. Now you have to change the entire thing again, and you probably add one part, and you add more things, or you change, or you use a paper what you wrote in a paper in your thesis, and you put those references. Now the citation style are different, or the like especially if you are using numbers, like in IEEE they use numbers. So if you use numbers for your citations, then sometimes this site number doesn't match with the bibliography that you have. So all these things are just a utter waste of time when you have tools that can do it for you. So basically, when it comes to there are references or literature, there are two problems. One is you have how to manage all the documents that you have, all these PDFs you download from everywhere, and then you have to deal with the popular citation styles that are there, which are used by different types of journals and conference and so on. So what we are trying to do in reference management tools is to organize, annotate, and manage the references. You can, where you can import references from online databases, library catalogs, websites, PDFs, and so on. Where you can create the in-text citations and the bibliographies. And also, one of the much more productive one is to share the references with other researchers, as I show you later. You can work on your references anytime, anywhere, because you can do this in the cloud now. So it's similar to either Google Drive or Dropbox and other things. You don't need to put it in your desktop where you can lose all that. You don't need to have your desktop or PC to do that. You can access it from anywhere, anytime. Right, so where it will be available in like web and local versions, so that all the issues that we discussed earlier won't be there, or there are solutions for those in this reference management tool. So as Professor Majid mentioned early in the beginning, there are many, most of which are you need to buy them, or not free, than like Zotero and Mendeley. I have picked Mendeley for particular reasons. Zotero is also a good option, but I also see that many of the participants or registrants to today's program are also using Mendeley. I'm specifically using Mendeley for one important reason, that it's like it has a larger online repository, like space given free, and also it's the search database where you can actually find other things and so on. But you cannot go wrong with either of that one. But we will focus specifically on Mendeley. If we are not, if you are not using any online tool, or even if you're using something like EndNote, or even BibTeX, like if you can use Mendeley even for BibTeX. There at Mendeley you can use Mendeley to integrate with BibTeX, and if you're using EndNote from your previous subscription or paid, you can actually probably switch to Mendeley. Because it is free and you can actually do much more in Note. Okay, so it's a free reference management software provided by Elsevier. Zotero, the good thing about it is it's an open source one, so it's never going to be owned by anybody. So it's not, it's most probably not to be priced anytime, but I not thinking Mendeley it will happen to Mendeley either, but you can never know. But at the moment it is free, and I assume that it will be kept free because they are making money in a different way. You have the desktop, web and mobile versions. There are plugins for word processors, so you can use a MS Word plugin or in LibreOffice, the free version of Office that is there. And then also, much more importantly, you can create groups and share your personal libraries with others, which it's very, very useful work in collaborative work, and not to do this to do the same again and again for each individual who's working on the same area, right? And then use the popular citation formats. I assume that most of you are using Mendeley anyway. Others, I think the instructions were said. I assume that you have downloaded and installed Mendeley desktop. So you can try these things out in your Mendeley desktop as we go along, or else you can take notes and then try those things out later. So as I said, there are two versions of that one. For those who have not seen or used, there's the Mendeley desktop, which you can, which we will use for most of the work, and then which has the more option, which has more options. And there's also Mendeley web, so you can get all what is there in the web as well. Okay, so what can we do with Mendeley? Okay. So I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to just show it in the slides. I'm going to just go and start working with Mendeley desktop so that can actually do this thing. Okay, so when you get the Mendeley desktop, you have different parts of in the Mendeley desktop. You have the menu there, and then the buttons, and then you have the folders menu here, folders and groups. We will talk about that later. And then there's the filter window. Once again, we will look at it later. And you have the document main document window, as well as the information windows here. So so let's look at, without really looking at what all these things mean, let's look at what you can do with it. So first thing, what you have to do is, now once you install this one, once you start, you can add the documents. So to add the documents, there are many ways. You can add a complete folder to your repository. So if you have a PDF downloaded in your hard drive, you can add those papers directly by adding a folder. So let me have downloaded a few papers just for demonstration. Okay, so there's here called a directory called Smart Agriculture that I've downloaded a few papers on. So I can add those things, and then can see those things will be added to your library. And those are what is highlighted here in blue, those papers. I will show you a few more ways to add before moving on to what to do with the new ones. So you can add individual files itself, where you can actually like, for example, you can just pick one paper. As you can see, those are numbers and all that. I don't even know what is there, but you can add, and it get added there. You can also drag and drop. So I can, if I go here, I can just drag and drop here, and then it will just okay, so that they get added as well. So you can drag and drop, you can add a file, you can add a folder, and then you can also do watch folder. So for example, let's say that I will add, I will download and add papers to my smart agriculture directory. So I can say watch this drive, so that whenever I download a paper, that it will automatically get added here. So that you can do it multiple ways. And now another way to add the thing. Now this is basically if you have what do you call if you're not using Mendeley or and you have let's say your PDFs in your hard drive, then if you need when you want to add, you'll have to use it that way. Or if you're using something like BIP text, or if you're using EndNote or any other software, and you want to switch to Mendeley, you can actually import those things. So for those, on those software, so like if it's a BIP text, there'll be a .bib file which you use with the LaTeX, so that you can actually just identify that file and just get all the references here. Or you can like from EndNote, you can actually export it as an XML file, all the references, and import it here. Also, you can do it with RIS files or RIS files or Zotero library. So this can be done both ways, from Mendeley to Zotero, from Zotero to Mendeley. So you can, so if you have these things in any other place, you can actually export it from there. BibTeX you can directly get, or you can export it from there and import it here. Now, one of the questions I got last time is that what to do if you are not using any of these things, you are just typing in. So I saw that there are many who are still typing this in or copy paste these things. So there's a way to actually convert your typed in ones. I will show you some site called sgproeewoww.com. Now here it's actually much easier, but it takes time. Now I actually have a, let me show you. I have this Word document where there are references in different, like, I copied from another paper, just references, which is in IEEE format. I can actually just copy those things. And in this website, you'll have to actually create a, account. And then you can actually come here. You can actually, there's an option to add your collection. This is also a reference management thing. And so you can import from the clipboard. So you can just go here, just copy from that original source, paste it here. So you can see that it says, so you can click on import now. Which will, it will take a bit of time. It will search the references and the information and all that. You can see that information is here already. Like, so these are some papers that are there. I did it last night. So these things are the ones I got from there, and then they have searched and put things here. Now what you can do after this is done is that you can create your library by using the text and putting it to your clipboard, and importing. Some might not work because they can't find the sources, but most of this will work. If you have typed in this properly, as like, those different aspects are there, like you have typed in properly with the correct order, as like, you have the authors and the article name and the publication or the conference and the volumes, the dates, the pages, and so on. If you have it in the proper format, this will identify and import those, and then you can export these either in RIS format or BibTeX format. So if I export it, I can save it as a .bib file. Okay. So let's say in the documents, I save it as my references bib. And then I can go to my Mendeley desktop, and I can import that, the bib file. So it's in my documents, my references bib. As you can see, it got added. So this is the paper that got added. There should be 2 more. Yes. So those papers got added. The PDFs are not there because PDFs are not here anyway. So you'll have to find those PDFs if you're necessary. But the reference get added here so that you can use it for your citations. Right. Other ways. Okay. And other way, which you should not be using for any reason, another way is that you can actually add an entry manually. So if you have text sources, you can actually type this and add, but you see it's a cumbersome thing. If you have many, especially if it's only few, of course you can do that. But if you have many, it might be prudent to use those text import rather than just typing in. And in addition to that, you can in the this one, you can see tools. There's install web importer. I have already installed web importer in my Chrome one. You can have it in Firefox as well. Now, when you go here, you will see that in your browser, you can see that I have the Mendeley web importer installed. So if I go to scholar.google, right? Let me see. I find something. So I can search for, let's say, now, if you search like this one and you do a so you can sign in, and then it will show you, it will extract the information in the search page, and it will show you the references here. You can pick what you want. If it's PDF there, it will download the PDF automatically. So I pick a few, and I can say add to my library, and it will automatically add these files to my library, which is in the web. So you can see those are already here in the recently added. All the references are here. Recently added ones are here in your web interface. So like, depending on the search, so like if you go to a different page, these things will change. It will extract the information, and then you can edit. You can add the PDFs as well. And so it's very easy now. Once you have put all your existing ones, the PDFs and the text and all that, afterwards you really never have to kind of download and edit like what I showed earlier. You can actually directly do it from your browser. When you search, you can just directly add it to Mendeley, and then you have it there. So and then it will automatically download to whatever folder that you have identified to put it there, right? So and also, if you go to a specific page, if you go to specific page, you can actually add that, like, you know, if you have things and you go to a specific page, you can get this particular paper. Like if you open a paper, because sometimes you don't want to just download it from the Google Scholar, you open the page, look at the abstract and see, okay, this is good, I want this one. So you can just click on this one and add it, so that that particular one only, you can only select one, and it will also show all the references, so that you can also see anything of interest that is there. As I said, so the references will go to more generic ones, as I said in the literature search earlier. So if you think something is much more like important by looking at this, like you are looking at the text and you see, this, there is identifying this this thing, and these are the references. Okay, let me find those references and just link it, and then automatically download them as well. So you can easily add a lot of material to your library very quickly, and then organize them, which we will look at later. Right? Okay. Any questions on adding material to your library? Any questions to things that we have done so far?
Excuse me, sir, I'm Champika here.
Sorry, I can't hear.
I'm Champika here. So when
Yeah.
I'm trying to add the, well, I mean, web import one, Mendeley one. So there I can't sign into the account, my Mendeley account. There it's going to the elsewhere account where I don't have a such account here. I can't go to my Mendeley account. It's going to something else.
Because of something else. What I mean, when you click on the web importer,
yeah, it says
like when you are using this, let's say, so when you click on this, let's say, like this particular tab, like this particular icon in your browser.
Yes, so then they're asking to sign in.
Yeah, they are asking to sign in.
So it's open again in the Microsoft Edge one. It's automatically open there.
Okay. So it's
so I can't plug it to the Google Chrome.
I have never used it from Edge. So are you using Edge for this as or Chrome?
Chrome I'm using.
Sorry?
I'm using Chrome.
Probably you have set your maybe it's because I have not faced it, because I don't have Edge as my default browser. I am assuming it might be because when you say it, when you like your default browser might be Edge, and because of that, it's directly when you click log on, it's to go into Edge. That's the only reason I can think of, because I have not seen that one, but that might be because I don't use Edge as my default browser. I mean, Chrome is my default browser, so it's basically go to that one. I am thinking that might be the reason. I can check with Firefox. That might be the reason. Can you check, like, you know?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay.
So do we have to get the web importer separately?
Yes. So like I think I use so that if you go to here, install web importer is here. So depending on your default browser, it will actually go to that browser. So when I click this one, it actually opened that site. If you could see earlier, it opened that page in Chrome. So if I click on this one, it actually goes to Chrome. and you will because my default browser is Chrome, it actually goes there, and you can see this one. It's actually identify what this one is, what browser is, then it will automatically give me the web import for Chrome. So I actually copied this one because I already have it here, but I went to Firefox and I in my Firefox window, when I open the same one, it's actually allow you ask to install the web importer for Firefox. So once you click on that one, it will actually add the Firefox add-on. It will ask. So now you can see in Firefox also I have it here. Now when I try to log in, let's find. Okay, so I'm not getting the same problem.
Yeah, as Dr. Bandaranayak pointed out correctly, it will, if you go to Mendeley and do it, it will install only to the default browser. If you are using the Edge as a default browser, it will be installed there. But in addition, you are using other browsers, they will not be affected. So you have to directly go to Firefox or Chrome, then try to download, then it should work, isn't it, Dr. Bandar?
Yes, but that Edge issue, I don't know what because
I think she has got it resolved. She texted here. Yes.
Fine. So yeah, so you can do it that way as well. Go back to Mendeley desktop. Okay. So so basically this is all about adding. And then now once you have added, the most important thing, first thing, is to ensure that that you have the sources properly so that you can use them later. So for example, I'll show you here. Now this there, I don't know how visible this is because it's too small because of my resolution. So you have all documents here, and there's one called needs review. So what this need review is that, it doesn't have all the information that should be available for a citation. So if I go to this page, it says the details need reviewing. You can mark them as correct or search the Mendeley catalog. So if you look at this one, actually most of the information is there, it seems. I don't know why it's saying, so I can say, okay, details are correct. This one, let me find another one. So for example, this one, so this one, as you can see, the journal name is not there, the volume, the issue, the pages, and the author keywords and all those things, document index number and all those things are identifier, document object identifier DOI is not available. So all these things are not available. So like when you fill up your thing, now how does this happen is like, say for example, if you have it in references and like, export from somewhere else and put it here, you'll have lots of information. But when you're doing it from PDFs, what happens is that this information is extracted from the PDF. So most of the new PDFs actually will have this information. Right, so this is called metadata. Like if you go into properties of a file, you will see this information in there. It's called metadata. If it's available in metadata, there's no issue. So all the new papers, PDFs, if you get it directly from the site, you'll actually have all this information, which will populate these things quickly. I mean, without any errors. Whereas if you use something older, sometimes you don't like, so for example, if this is not available in metadata, what it will do is it will try to scan, like do the OCR kill optical character recognitions, actually scan the paper, for the text. It knows like at the top, the title is at the top and then the authors and all that. So it will try to extract that information by optical character recognition. It's not as good as metadata, so you might have errors. So this comes to review. If it's actually like a scanned version, which is without optical character recognition, you might not have any information at all. So now the thing is, when you add these things, you will have to go and review those things, add the information, because once you have like hundreds of things, it's very cumbersome to go and add this information one by one. So it's much better whenever you add new papers, just to go and review the papers that are available, and then whatever that is missing, add those things and correct them and collect them as as correct, so that you will have a resource which is full of all the. Okay, so once you have added all your resources and completed this one, it's the next most important thing is the what do you call organization of this one, right? So how to organize the information? So there are multiple ways for you to organize. So the traditional method, or the more what do you call more the method that is more familiar to everybody is what is called folders. So in your library, you can actually call folders. Now, unlike Windows or operating system folders that you have in like Windows or Linux or wherever, these folders are just labels. So, like, say for example, let's say I have this folder called mesh networks. So I have this mesh network. So all these papers, even if I delete this folder, nothing happened to the papers, because those are not inside this one. It is like I have searched for all the documents using mesh networks, and all those papers I have put into folder. Let me show that to you. So what I'm going to do is actually inside this mesh network, in this folders, you can create subfolders, and there are subfolders as well. So what I'm going to do is inside mesh network, I am going to create a subfolder. So that subfolder will be looking at the channel assignment in what is called this mesh network area. So in the mesh network area, I want to find, so there's, as you can see, there are 47 documents in this mesh network folder. And inside that, I am going to search for channel assignment. So there are So there are 19 documents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get all these documents. I'm going to kind of drag and drop them into this channel assignment. Okay. So if you go to channel assignment, so if I go to channel assignment, I can see that there are the 19 documents are there. It is in that subfolder. Right? So it is in this subfolder. But if you go to mesh network, you can see that all the 47 papers are there. So it doesn't matter. So even if I delete this one, so you can see there's 19 papers. Even if I delete this subfolder, the papers are there, all the 47 papers are there, and nothing happens to those. So these folders are basically, it's just for organization, so that you can actually have a logical order as you used to in the computer, where you will organize these things. right? So it's easier for you to have organization. But now basically, when you think about this organization, if you think about your how these folders are usually arranged in your computer and how easy for you to find information of these documents later, it all depends on how you manage these things, how you organize these things and all that. But I have faced so many difficulties sometimes finding information, and especially if you work in a group, different people have different organized like ways of organizing things. So it's very hard to have a common way of doing it. But one of the good things about it is that you can actually add the same paper into multiple folders or multiple subfolders and so on. So you can do it differently, but that's it's the same thing as if you think back, especially if you have worked in the pre-Gmail and on webmail era, you had this Outlook and other mail where you will have organized your mails in different folders and so on. But with Gmail now, you can just basically search for it. You can just search with the different keywords, or you can put labels and search. Which makes it easier for you to actually, I mean, you can put multiple labels and so on for a given mail, so that you can easily find information. Because the thing is, when you put in folders, most of the time the problem is that there will be things that will actually belong to multiple subject areas or folders and so on. So where to put those things? So one of the things that you can do is actually here you can put it into multiple folders, because it doesn't duplicate. But to do that, the better option in this one is that it allows you to put your own tags. So let me show you. So when you go to a paper, like if you click on each paper, you can see that there's place that you can actually, so there's all the other information, author keywords and so on. There's also place that we can actually give tags, that you can put your own tags, where you can put tag and a tag and semicolon and multiple tags in that way, so that you can actually like you can put different tags to say this belongs to this particular thing. So it's actually, for me, it's in IoT or Internet of Things, as well as security, because I work on both areas. So I don't have to create like a IoT and a security and IoT in my folders. I put all my tags here. So when I want security related ones, this paper will pop up. When I want Internet of Things or IoT, this paper will come there. So a better way to find things will be, you can't say better, but that each person's mindset works differently. So you have to find that works best for you, depending on your preference. But both these options are available. So for example, like if you go to all your documents, you can actually, here it's normally have it like you in the filter table, the filter window, you can have the filters by given ones, like filter by author. So you can find like papers that is by a specific author and so on, or author keywords, so what they have given. So like agriculture and different keywords that the authors have given. So from that you can find, you can look at the publication to find things from computer networks or BMC genomics and so on, or you can actually use your own tags. So that is one of the ways that you can actually find. So let's say, for example, I want to find things that I have tagged as IoT. So these are the papers that I have tagged as IoT. So, and then security will also have the same papers might or will be in security on other areas as well. So you can put your tags to find papers in like, will belong to multiple areas, multiple criteria. So especially true with, like, if you look at the even author keywords, it will belong to multiple areas. So it's very hard to actually come up with a folder structure, but you can actually use your tags to identify these papers in different areas. Now, when you use these tags, one of the things is that, let's say now, if you use your all documents and use your tags, it will be all documents. But if you do it in each folder, it will be just belonging to that particular thing also. So you can use this in combination to actually find the relevant papers very quickly in that one. So if you actually put bit effort to actually think about your format you want and the tags that you would put, finding the papers and the information you need will be very.
Just to get a clarification on behalf of the participants, Dr. Bandaranaike, so whatever you do, whether you tag or not, or whether you create multiple tags, the master list will remain the same, isn't it?
So whatever you do, it's the information is there. It's like, your papers are going to be there. So your tags is just for you to find. So that is not going to go into the references or anything. So it's just for you to find the information. Similarly, like, so it's basically to organize your data and to find the data efficiently, because like if you earlier, like if you have it in your Windows folders, you need to go through, search through everything to find where it is. But if you put your tag, okay, I want in this area, in this particular thing, you can easily find it very quickly. So that's the objective of using the tags, so that you can put your own tags to identify what based on what you're looking for. Okay. So that is the organizing the documents. And then comes the other part where when you look at the papers that you have, let's say, for example, you have this PDF, which is downloaded and it is there. Now, what you can do in this papers is that you can actually open this in it will open in a different tab. And then in each paper, when you are reading, right, you can actually highlight areas depending on, okay, say climate smart agriculture, and you can actually put a note here. You can and put a note, or you can actually use different colors for different things. Let's say I want this one is for blue for a certain reason. You can have your own colors, codes for different parts. Say motivation, one thing, or explanation, another thing, or I mean, different color codes based on what you want. And then you can actually add a note. So I said I'm putting a note to say have the explanation of this one, so that you can see it in your notes. So you can add similarly in different places, that you can highlight the text. You can put a different color, and you can add another note. So there are different notes. So these are called actually private annotations, as you can see. So whenever like you share these documents and so on, even you will even in search, these things will not pop up. It's actually when you open, you will see these things. So if you want this, whatever that text, let's say I want this paper to be used for climate smart agriculture, for what, like, it's like a motivation or a explanation for this area. So in general notes, I can say motivation, climate smart. So of course it will be in the title as well, and explanation. So it actually is like I can use this in those places for specific things. So I mean, it depends on what you want to search for and so on. But you can put general notes which are searchable, and also when you share, those things will be shared as well. Now, just to give you an example, so whatever you put in just general notes, when you go to library, you're looking at the entire library, and then you say I want to have the motivation, you will see. So this I have put this in many places. So in the note, so these are motivation, these are in the text, but you can see in the first two it is in the notes. So this paper, you can see I have my notes. It's a motivation for a greenhouse, so that I know when I look at, when I search in the notes, I can see it. So it's very easy. Like, say for example, when you are reading paper, you put your general notes to say, okay, this is for this particular area. I want to this use as the motivation. This is the explanation for this particular concept. This is a reference for this particular concept. So when you search, you will see that in the notes you have identified this one, and then it's very easy. So whenever you read, you highlight things, put it in your text, and then in the top, in the general notes, you identify later when you're just skimming through, this is where I can use this reference. So those kind of things. So when you're searching, you will find that information so that you can easily use it. You don't have to go to the entire text once again. So read once, do it properly, highlight, put notes, put the important factors into general notes so that you can search it and find whenever needed, right? So this search, you can actually do it in inside directories. So then it will only find information that is inside those directories only. Okay. So specific subject area, you find the motivation, you'll find only papers that are available there. Okay. So that's to use in the inbuilt PDF reader, and use the highlighting and notes to ensure that you only read the information. So once you build, you populate it, so you do it only once, and then when you read the paper and identify important things, you put the notes so that you don't have to reread and go through the papers to trying to find different information whenever that you need. You do it once, do it properly, and that will be the only time that you need to go through that paper. And unless that you want to, next time when you want to use it as a reference, then you might go and read it again, but you don't have to search through all the text to find what should I use here and there. Okay, any question on those? Okay, so there was a problem about the duplicates. There's actually you can check for duplicates here, and it will show you if there's two, whether these two different things are the same, right? So this is not actually. So, but you can check for duplicates if you get it from multiple sources, and if you suspect duplicates are there, you can actually go and check for duplicates. And one of the really good ones on this is actually this related works, or what do you call there's a question: are there any maximum limit of papers to add to Mendeley desktop? No, but the problem is okay, I'll show you. So the issue is that so I will come to that one. So your Mendeley web and Mendeley desktop are linked. Zotero, you can decide on what to whether to keep it here or not. Here in this in Mendeley, you have this sync option. So when you use the sync option, what happens is it will check the web one, and it will retrieve. So you can remember I added some from the web importer. So those things have been downloaded now. And also, if you had just added into your repository in the desktop, those things will be updated into the web version. Unless you do this thing, it will not happen. So you can actually keep it apart, but then there's no point of using. The problem is, of course, if you exceed the 2 GB limit in Mendeley, you won't be able to add any more. Where you will either have to remove some of, as you do in your any other like Dropbox or G Drive or whatever, you'll have to remove some to get the space, or you'll have to buy. So I think there are multiple stages. Like if you want to buy 5 GB, it's about $20 and so on. So it's like there are different tiers that you can go for, but you'll have to pay extra. So you can stay within the 2 GB if you manage, but if you want to go more, you'll have to actually pay and keep the space online. So this the other thing is this related work, so that you can pick any paper and then you can go for related ones. It will search for okay, it didn't find anything, but if you go to email also, that I get a lot of emails like for all the papers that you have. Mendeley Suggest actually sends you this references, these things that are closer to or similar to what you have done. So if I search for Mendeley, it should say, so it will keep sending me things which are closer to the things that I have in my library. So it will make a suggestions as to, okay, there are these papers based on your Mendeley library. So this is because it's a crowdsourced one. When people keep adding, depending on your keyword comparisons, they will send you suggestions as to, okay, there are similar papers in the area that you can look at, right? So which is actually quite good, because this is similar to Google Scholar alerts. This actually give you glimpse of new things people are looking at, are interested in. So you can actually go and look at those and add to your library. Okay. So the final thing that is left is actually how to manage a citation in Mendeley desktop. Earlier I showed that you can actually install MS Word plugin. If you go to that one, you can see in the tools as MS Word plugin. So I've already installed. Once you installed that one, you can actually go to the let's say Word file. You can go to references, where you will see this Mendeley option there. So I can insert a citation by searching it, or I can just I can search it by author, title, or say, let's for example, yeah, so let's say I use this one. I can so let's say I'll just use multiple options, and I can just click edit there, or I can just go to here. I can just go to Mendeley and just pick, let's say I just pick from here, and then just say cite. It will automatically, I didn't show you. So I can go to one place in the document. I add here, and I can go to Mendeley, where it will actually jump to the Mendeley window. Just I forgot to do it, show it earlier. So you can go to the Mendeley, and it's actually it shows like it changes the mat. And you can see there's different buttons there. So I can go and pick a different paper here, and I can click on the cite button, which will automatically add that to the document in Word, as you can see here. Right? So you can keep adding in like this, keep adding different things. So you can add multiple ones and all that. So you can see that at the moment we are using this American Physical Association 7th edition thing. And once you are done with all that, you can actually go to the end. You can have the references sections, and in the references you can insert the bibliography, and you can see that the papers, the references are already there. So you don't have to worry anything. You don't have to type in anything. It's already there. And if you want to change the format, let's say I want to change it to IEEE format, I just click on this one and it will automatically change. And if you go to the in your article, these things are already changed to the references that are given there, right? All whatever. So if you once again change it to something else, let's say Chicago menu, use this style. So it changes to that format once again, and you will see your bibliography is okay. Yeah, just change this. Okay, so it's earlier one actually just showing the nature one, I think. Yeah, so it was showing the nature one. So you can change it to different formats so that it will actually, you don't have to do anything. It just depending on the journal conference you are saying, you have to just pick the format that it is using, and you can just, it's just a click way just to change how it is the bibliography as well as the citation is done. So I think that brings us to the end of what we can do with Mendeley. More questions?
A couple of more questions came to chat.
My question is still valid. When we use Mendeley, we can utilize from cloud, but how we can try to get automatic bibliography lists which are not in cloud but staying, for example. Okay, so unpublished statistical report. So if you want to add any other resource that is not in your Mendeley in your Mendeley desktop, you can actually you can actually go and manually add it. Right? So let's say that you want to have an unpublished statistical report. You will have a way to reference that. Like you need to have a reference. You need to reference that one, right? So it's not published, but you can stay this statistical report or somewhere. So you'll have to go and enter that manually. Right? You can pick what type. Okay, it's say it's a report, right? So you give it there, and whatever it is, you can add it as a report or a generic, or so whatever type of so a reference you are adding, and then to that one, like even newspaper article you can add, and then you will have it in your library. So then you can add it to your reference. Does that answer your question? Yeah, so this is same thing. You can again, I mean, there are two ways to actually add a web page. One thing is you can actually like, so that is that it is actually in Zotero that is possible directly to add web link. Here you'll have to you can either create a web PDF page or print as PDF from a web page and add it, or you can add the entry manually. You can add the web page here. You can author, publish, and URL, right? So you can add a web page, and then so as I said, so we were mostly looking at the research articles, papers available online as PDFs, but other sources you can actually add manually, like other things, reports, theses, working paper, web page, and all that. You can actually add them manually, and then later you can use that in reference. See. Any more questions?
There was a question from Balakrishnan Arulasiri, just wondering.
And then it will show. So it needs to be, you can say it is correct, and then it will take it as it is. But if it's like if you put it as a journal article and if you miss things, right, so you have to identify what type of article it is, and then put the information, and then if it needs review, you have to say the details are correct, and it will be done. So it will just say that if it's missing, it will just suggest that these are things need review. But if you identify it is that's correct, then it will no longer ask for those.
Sir, with that, we have reached the end of today's program. I sincerely thank you all for your valuable participation. Stay safe. Thank you.